This stuff in Yerushalmi says Pesachim. The article goes with additional Daf Chav Gimel Amrav. The second after that, Rabbi Rav Shul Bar Rav Yitzchak B'Shem Rab, which in the Vilna is on Daf Chav Amr Aleph, 8 lines at the bottom. Rabbi Rav Shul Bar Rav Yitzchak B'Shem Rab said there should be Shabbat Modeh. A pot in which you cook mother. So there are many different girosos here. What mother exactly means? But let's see why it should be a problem in the first place. Whatever you cook, the pot in which you cook whatever this mother is, lo yavashel me'el samin, you should not cook from that species in that pot again, el achar Pesach, unless until after Pesach. Hamimin achar, not a Pesach itself. So presumably it's some sort of chametz. But if you're cooking another species in the pot, it's mutter. As long as you cook 3 different things of a different species in the middle before you start cooking with it on Pesach. So the difficulty is obviously that it doesn't sound like cooking 3 things should be a sufficient hagol if it's chametz mamish, whatever this mod is. But the mashbiach's girsa is instead of modeh, modai, modi, I should say, medium beer, which is tarovis chametz. But even that, it's difficult to say that, okay, just because you cook tarovis chametz before Pesach, only tarovis chametz, not chametz mamish. So from Pesach, if you cook 3 things in the middle, we'll let you cook whatever you want on Pesach without doing proper agola. Nevertheless, it could be that that it is actually supposed to be taken as being chametz, and even worse, so to speak. There's a girsa in the Or Sameach, and the evidently also in the Itur, which says that, which I guess the Or Sameach brings down from the Itur, that yes, that it is it's not moda but chamira, so that's chametz mamish. So anything leavened. But there is, according to Gis and Eater, though, it's only in the Gemara itself. It's not matir on Pesach. It's only matir after Pesach. I'm not looking at the ears of the Eater's Girsa, but let's see if we can find it quickly. Yes, the Gis of Eater and the Rokeach is Leshbishba Nora Lo Yavashu Milosamin Lacha Pesach. Pesach itself it's more usher, but it's only after Pesach. But and I guess because you left the pot over Pesach, so therefore by Rabbi Matzeh, you shouldn't use the pot after Pesach for that mean. But mean acher, it's mutter acher shloshel tavshilin. If you allowed to use a different min, if it's after 3 tavshilin, and I guess it means that the makel with 3 tavshilin, before Pesach, that it no longer has a chametz stick a pot for in terms of using it after Pesach, not in terms of using a Pesach itself. Okay, so it says Gemara, well, if you're being matir after 3 usages, why just minacher? Whether the gears is on Pesach or the gears is after Pesach, what's the difference if it's the 3 usages are a form of Hagolah, if it's for a same species or a different species? Min mora, mino lesser. So the Gemara says a very fundamental principle. The min is min mora, mino. In other words, it's min it's chazer meneir, right? As the Korban says, fil achar shloshet tavshin chaz min atam mino shabo. It arouses the time of its own mean, and therefore that would be usher. I should point out, I didn't look down before, but if you have those of you who learn out of Vilna have the Maramdi Unzano on the page, he basically makes his point and brings down the girsa of the it's a different girsa for Moras, and then he brings down the girsa of the Itter. It does the name of the Baal Hadibros. The Baal Hadibros is. But in any event, he brings down the similar idea that it's only after Pesach, not for Pesach itself. Okay, Rabbi Yaakov was after, Rabbi Avo, Rabbi Yaakov was after, Rabbi Yaakov said, Rabbi Avo, Mefaki l'tochanaya. Rabbi Avo directed people who ground grain, the millers, not to put sacks of grain one on top of each other. They shouldn't get warm I guess because with a lot on top of each other, to insulate each other, get warm. The year Yachma on. It says also talk the Kiddush do a sakim zelze she's chama mu yachmitzu should get warm and become chametz. So bechina ba papa azal le gabi tuchnaya. He would go himself to the to millers to make sure to ensure that this had property and just command them. He went and actually checked what was going on. Now we have another line which is like a medrash pliya. Rabbi Yetzer Bun tochan le tzoraf. He ground tzoraf. What does that mean? So the Cornelius says fascinating idea. So it's tochan le echad mitzoraf kesef. He didn't grind his grain for Pesach by a regular miller. He gave it to somebody who was a silversmith, a choshes, coppersmith. We wouldn't let the normal millers do it. Should be there's a closer full of fine particles of chametz. Afraid maybe that would fall on his flour. Moshe says, he would grind very little. They're talking out tarif till he goes mitzarif. He joined together. That which he needed. So again, it was daily zor. There's extra special safeguard. It's not to come to some chametz. If he would grind everything together. The Mashbiach says he would get a minion together in order to grind the grain. The Shai Torah's Eretz Yisrael has a fascinating suggestion. He suggested that really should have said tzorchei. He would grind for himself what he needed for Pesach. In other words, he would grind for himself. He would not grind any miller. He would grind it tzorchei, his needs for Pesach. And the pei somehow got mixed up with a chaf. I guess it was like a chaf with a line, and it came pei. Ravun directed the grinders meeting tartin to moi to put a tartin on many different gersos and what this word is supposed to say. Shuta says so. We say titraton, which is revius of water, in begin me day in each measure of a sa'ah, and then. Misnavna, and to instead of mislana, it's based on the itor, and that's to moisten our bozim in 4 times. So evidently, the itor explains that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of shimur, the Shem Matzah's mitzvah, it has to get wet because otherwise it would be mishamer for. But you have to put a minimum amount of water in it. So so he was put in this minimum amount, which is revius in a saw, and you make it grind it with this minimum amount after you moisten it 4 times, and then make sure that it doesn't get chametz. The last goes to Reb Chaim, who says that it means to you're supposed to put revius water inside the vessel in which you ground the grain and rinse it 4 times in order to make sure that there's nothing adhering to the presumably dry it afterwards the vessel for the next batch of grain you're going to grind in that in the mill. Touching sounds like a small amount. I guess you want to use more. In order that it shouldn't be left over to make chametz, but according to him, Tachron is a mashir which holds three revios, but he brings down that girsa of Tachraton also, which is Tishraton, the Shankib Shuto's girsa. So it should be something like revius itself. Okay, in any event, to pshatim, hamayin yivchar, as they say. Rabbi China Rabbi Mona Chadamar Basavin Shari, the because carbon laniach chitim asavim shem lachim. We're allowed to put the grain down on the on grass, which is moist. Metagna aser. It says he says excuse me, metanina, like sorry, I read it wrong. Metanina on the ground. It's also like a lotion of teat. Naniach hachitim offer lacha, to put it down on moist dirt. It's also and the other one says the opposite. On the grass, it's also. On the ground, it's mutter. Amar Bechina Beit Rabbi Hillel. Feel like when about saving shari, even according to the opinion holds that you're allowed to put it on moist grass. But sheish also malon. The Carmela says the matter. Feel man the matter are saving dafka kshakos are saving acha chatzos. It's when you gather these grasses after noon. Shekvar yotza tamehem. There's no dew on them anymore. They're not so moist. Because before 6 hours, when the dew is still upon them, they're very moist also, and that's what I was about to say. It says ma. Shankim Shuzos just changed it to lama. Let's go changes it. No, it just leaves it ma. The tal of feigamino, when the tal already is dissipated from them. Okay, halacha beis. Batek shebesit areva. You have dough which is in the cracks of a mixing bowl. So the dough which is there, says the carbonata, it's made lechazik shveh. It's there like kind of glue because it has cracks in there. It holds the mixing bowl together. So if it's excised in one place, you have to eradicate it. Even though it's serving as glue, you got to get rid of it. Buttermilk, if it's less than that, so it's insignificant and you don't have to get rid of it. So too in terms of tumah, the Gemara is going to explain what that means. Im hikbid alav chaytzitz. If you're makbid on it, in other words, it's a type of dough which you would want to remove, so then it's chatzitza. It's chatzitza for to feel in a mikveh. That's what I would say, but Moshe brings down that it's actually talking about not allowing tumah to come down to the keli. So in other words, it's not, but if tumah touches the dough, then it's not matami the keli. I think it works both ways. If you want it to be there, if it's like the pot, and again, it wouldn't be chaytzitz for the mikveh because now it's part of the pot. The way that Moshe is learning is that it's not going to be chaytzitz for tumah because it's part and parcel of the vessel. At this point, it touches it. It's as if touching a vessel. That's how Reikav is like the bowl itself. But say cherish. So Chormei says, "But cherish makilo biyad." You tap with your hand. Ain't mashmiya kol. It doesn't make a noise. For them, the cherish is like a the deaf person love with whom you call out. The ain't meshiv. He doesn't respond. Lishnachin, another shot is but say kacheres. Shukasha cheres. It's tough like pottery. You can't tell if it's chametz or not. So you have to check, right? Right? If there's you have a similar dough, which was mixed at the same time, and it's chametz, then you have to assume that this one, also this one is also chametz as well. As Marchabrai Shem B'Yochanan said, Rabbi Shimon Shem B'Yochanan Levi said, "B'niklav kul kachas." This gezayis in the Mishnah, which says that you have to be mevaret. That's if you can peel it off at once. In other words, when it comes off in one piece. So that retains it has chashivas gezayis because it's not going to break apart. Akdun lach. Okay, that's fine. That's if it's moist and it's still peelable. Yavesh. What if it's dry? It's not going to. It's going to break apart because it's dry, but theoretically, if it was wet, it would peel off in one piece. Since if it was moist, it would all be able to be peeled off at once. So even if it's dry, has the same status, and therefore it has, if it's ice, one place, which could be peeled off. If it was moist, then you have to get rid of it for Pesach. Okay, the next few lines, Rabbi Yirmiyah, B'Shem Rabbi Zira, until Kamatos Kamachuber, the Mashbiach, takes out from here and puts it in the Vilna at the top of Chafal from now for the next Amud, instead of Tamanam Rabbi Yirmiyah. Replace that with this statement, and in the article, it's about 10 lines down here on Chav Gimel Amud Beis. One of the statements Rabbi Yirmiyah is superfluous regardless, but let's go with the Mashbiach, who says this statement should be really over there. And now I want to ask the question, skipping that same Rabbi Yirmiyah for now. Ma'u miato, in the Mishnah. We said in the Mishnah, Paras mikam bata b'miuto. So what about you yourself made it less than a kazai? So it was initially more than the guys, you reminded it. Bato, or do we say it's bato? Okay, it was more than the kazais, but now it's less. Or became shilavara, or do we say that since it was at some way kazais, the fact you reminded it doesn't do any good, and you're still chayv in biur, right? I'm not sure what we're talking about when you reminded. Perhaps it's on your dollar. I don't know exactly when this happened. I'm not clear from the Gemara's question. So now the Gemara asks another question here, and according to the Nir, it's a parallel question. Ad Echon, meaning the Yerushalmi holds that if you have the mixed bowl is covered with dough in its majority, so then you have to mevar it even if it's less than a kazais. And that's because whereas the less than kazais works if it's not over the facing the entire mixing bowl. What about if it's more than the majority of the mixing bowl? What's the status? If you diminish it to less than the majority thereof, it's batel. And again, the same question. Since it's near levar, tzarich levar is kulo. Since originally is more than the row, you have to buy the entire thing. Mashbiach and Mecha Amayim seem to say that it's all one long question. So that it's not mistab, but it doesn't make sense that it's going to work to diminish the kazayis if it's in one place. So therefore, the question is when the kazayis is on the majority of the areva by there being like strands going all over the place. And is that considered to be still one place? And therefore, you have to divide it, or no, since it spreads in little strands all over the place, so that's considered by definition less than kazayis. So according to that, the question is, how thin does the spread have to be? Can the spread be and still be considered to be one place? So reva. So it's up to the majority of that reva. It's still considered to be one place. So in that case, the where it says ma miyed reva. What if you diminish that? It's no longer the majority of that reva, but so became a shivaret tzarich levaretz kulo. So they have to devour all of it, and wherever you learn the question, the more doesn't answer the question. Now we bring Rabbi Yirmiyah from before. As you can see, it's very similar. It's almost the same language, so therefore, the Mashbiach's point makes sense. Rabbi Yirmiyah, but it's more complete if you learn that. Use the previous gears and put it over here because it answers. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Shnei chatzoi seisim v'chabayis." You have two halves seisim in the house. Ein habayis mitzarif. The house doesn't join together. Besocha a kli mitzarif. So in the keli, the kli joins together. So Gemara says, "V'atnina pachas mikam bata b'miyuto." Or it says, if it's less than that, it's bata b'miyuto. So what are you saying? We just said, yeah, the kli is not mitzarif, right? It said that if it's less than kazayis, doesn't matter, right? So Gemara says, kam tosh kam mechubar. No, if it's in the keli, if it's mechubar, it's just like in the house. In other words, you have one adhering piece, half of a kazayis adhering here, half kazayis adhering there. Then you don't have to be mevared because they're not mitzarif, just like have his eyes in that wall, have his eyes in that wall. But if they're talush, they're just rattling around the keli, And even if they're hard and tough and they don't seem to be chametz anymore, since nevertheless they bevar them, the kli is mitzaref them because they can be brought together, right? It's mechuber to the kli. They're not moving, they're not coming together. They're totally rattling around. Then of course you have to that's that Rabbi Zira said that situation mivar them. So, like I said in the Mishnah, going back to the chatzitza, the Yerushalmi does mean, I'm not sure whether Pnei Moshe Kabbalah said in Tuma, because here it is explicit in the Yerushalmi. In Mikbil of chatzitzu litvila, if you're makrid on the dough, it's chatzitzu for tvila. You love any chatzitzu tvila. If it's not chatzitzu for tvila. I just want to make sure we understand. We skipped the time until the word and we substituted the Rabbi Yirmiyah and until up to Kamtosh Kamchuva from above. Okay, and we're going on. In Mikbil of Chaytzitzu Tefillah, bin Lameno Chaytzitzu Tefillah. Who Tefillah Hazoya? The same thing if you're doing Hazoya, you're sprinkling paraduma water on it. So because we came to a mace that if you're makbid, you're going to remove it. So then the hazoya on the dough doesn't help for the rest of the keli. If you're not makbid, you're not going to remove it. In other words, it's going to be part of the parts of there. So then it's then hazoya on the dough works for the keli as well. Okay, the next few words are also another medrash pliya. The Mashbiach changes these lines dramatically. For example, he says he wants in the end to take them out. He wants to say it shouldn't say Eno Chibul Tumar, but it was really said Eno Ches Lamates, and the Ches Lamates is a Rashi Tevis, and it's Eno Chotzitz Latvila. Right? It's not Chotzitz Latvila Min Hadah. From here, if you want it to be there, it's like a reva, and therefore you can tell it that way. But then, even still, reva, those words don't make sense. Because Mishnah saying reva, right? It's zimlav and reva. So he actually wants to take those words out. The Meichal Mayim also wants to take the words out and put them later on in the Gemara, but the Yerushalmi Pesachim suggests that what's going on here is well, I should tell you art first. The art scope brings down. I think it's from. Based on Tosefta, but I'm not sure who. He says that it's possible that something is considered part of a keli in order to remove tumah from a keli for tefillah and hazoya, but not part of the keli in order for tumah to come down to the keli, right? So it's not a chatzitza, but still not. That's still not a chibur tumah. Tumah can't come down from the to the keli, but it's still difficult. The language, min hadaim rotze b'kumu kareva, v'la guvasha reva. Something is missing there. Obviously, have to change something around there. The Yerushalmi Pesachim suggests that what it means to say is that even what about if you don't want it there, but you're not makbid some on it. So in other words, it's not that you want it there. It's not you don't want it there. Not makbid either way. So ain't a chibur tuma. It's not a chibur tuma. I mean, that's why we wrote to bekumo kareva. If you want it there, then it becomes like a reva. If you lav, and if not, then still kigufa reva has something that has to change as well. Even going to that, you have to say gufa one means really kamo, and it's like that reva, but not actually that reva, which is very difficult. I would say that going along those lines, that perhaps the change gives to be like this: the imur tukima ruka reva, but in lav, know that only gufa shel reva is a chibur tuma, not the dough. So just change imlav kigufa to imlav only gufa. Right, take out the kaf. Obviously, you also put in the word eno to make it Ein Kegufah Reva, and that will work as well. But something has to be changed in order to make it the words come together. So I know I didn't have to have it outside my Gemara from the last time I learned this, or one of the times I learned this, but talking to the Shai Torah that says, he puts in the word Eino. V'lav, Eino Kegufah Shel Reva. Okay, so then, talking it could be talking about this scenario where you're not don't want to leave it there, but you don't really care if you leave it there, and therefore, the Gemara says, if it has to be specifically where you wanted to make it part of parts of the keli, that it's not going to be chatzitza and it's going to be chibur l'tuma. Otherwise, it's going to be chatzitza and it won't be chibur l'tuma. Okay, so then Rabbi Shimon Lakish has a chiddush. So it says, "Amar kachshon Rebbe." This is what Rebbe taught us. Tzoa, you have excrement. Shetachas akisei. It's some sort of refuse, not necessarily excrement. It could be some sort of other refuse, which somebody like a piece of gum stuck to the bottom of his chair. So Shatas Kisei Chibul to him and Chibul Hazoya. So the Garment Ada says the Torah should look at Kisei Shesh V'Leo. This gum or whatever it is, which is underneath the chair, it's a chibur tuma shumachsi keli shalosh to shaver. Okay, evidently somehow this the gum that this student stuck to his chair years ago, somehow holding the chair together. So, Oscar points out the rationale, and that is he's saying that it's similar to our Mishnah. In other words, the Batzei Ksted Reva is holding the Reva together. So to this. So Tachas Akise is holding the chair together. I'm not sure you have to say that, but in any event, it's a chibur tuma and a chizah lazoya. It's a chibur for tuma, but it's not a chibur lazoya. If you're maz on it, it doesn't work for the keli. So we see that there's an interesting dichotomy, which he's suggesting, between something is matame, it's matame, the garment's matame the chair, and something is. If Azar goes on the gum, it's not as if it goes on the. So Gemara is going to explain what the difference is later on. In the meantime, Gemara brings down a list of things. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Rabbi Shimon ben Khan said, Avra Meduldo, you have a limb which is partially severed and partially connected. Tzvam Dudels, you have a nail which is partially severed and partially connected. But Tzor Shachas Kisei, case I just had. Vidu Kriya, the Shah changes the next word from Ukruya to Habriya. To if you have a gourd which you hollowed out, scooped out, it's dried, and you scooped it out, the innards, in order to use as a bucket. It's very light, you can sink in the water properly, so you connect the stone to it, give it some heft and weight, and you made it's adhering strongly. It's a healthy connection. So all these things are chibur l'tuma and chibur l'azaya. If you sprinkled on this partially severed limb, partially severed nail on the soil, as we said, and on the stone, there are then it's not a connection. It's a chibur tuma. Tuma can come down to the keli, or to the person, for whatever, from these things, but Hazoya won't work. What's the difference? Ma'abin to ma'abin Hazoya. Rabbi Loya said, "Hazoya ksi vizo ala oil val kelim." This is you have to be maza on the oel and on the kelim. So says the Kormeida, oel v'kelim mashma dafka amashu ikar kiyum akli. Komashuatz moa keli, something which is an essential part of the keli, right? V'alkol mekayim shebekeli. Anything which is mekayim the keli. It sounds like the Torah here is not sustaining the chair, not like the Korbaneda said, but in any event, and therefore it's not chibur v'lazaya. The line seems to say anything in Mekayim keli, anything going to leave that way in the keli, but it said, but not on anything which you're not going to leave there. Or I shouldn't say not to leave it. It's not going to sustain. It's not going to be sustained there. But I guess the stone also somehow you're not going to sustain it there. Maybe you have to switch them from time to time. Bram but here lachem. It says any which is a tzarech for including all these things. Choshev, and I guess that's the it says, well, so is doing something there. So therefore, that's therefore anything which is serving some purpose. That's a chibur for tuma and for chatzitza. That's not going to be chatzitza, but hazoya is not going to work on all these things because of the idea of al kol hakelim, right? So kol hamekayim shebekeli. Bnei Moshe is a very different shot. He says, "Amar Lahain at the time of the Hazok, Stevie Zok, al kol kaim hainu kol rabos who the calls the rabbis al kol hamekayim she'asuyim lekayim asakli anything which is made to be mekayim the keli." As a chashivas in of itself, and it's independent. Sorry, chazor b'fnei atzma. It's a keli did azor on the keli itself. It doesn't work for the mekayim, and I guess vice versa as well. Say kol tzorich lachem is included in part and parcel of keli. You don't need a separate hazoya on the mekayim as a keli. So a very, very different shot. Okay, the article references a whole bunch of places where you look for other pshatim. Yishma Chacham Yosef Lekach. We're already up to next Amid, so we'll stop here.